La 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 la. Well, you know who I'm singing about today, friends. Joan Baez and her illustrious, amazing career. Hi, my name is Lydia Nitya Griffith with Karma Chameleon. On this channel, we cover all things feng shui, BaZi Chinese Astrology, and often I like to read the charts of celebrities and famous people so we can better understand our own charts and our own lives. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So this is the eve of my birthday. I'm filming this October 20th, and my birthday's tomorrow. And I know that there's a new documentary out in the movie theaters. I Am a Noise. I love it. I love it. The great title. A documentary about Joan Baez. And I have to admit, I grew up mostly in the 70s, but hearing her voice on the radio. And when I was a little girl, I wanted to be, when anybody asked me what I want to be when I grow up, it was a hippie. And I grew up in a little neighborhood called Bolton Hill in Baltimore City. And I was a few blocks away from the Maryland Institute College of Art. So during the 70s, I remember seeing all these hippies walking around and, you know, with paint. And my babysitters were artists. I think that I transferred the word, like the idea of being an artist and a hippie as one thing. And interesting, you know, the hippie movement was a creative movement. My Aunt Linda was also, I remember going to her house and she'd be playing Joan Baez and other musicians of that time, Joni Mitchell. And it really struck a chord with me. And music for me has always been my love. It was a big part of my house growing up, even though that wasn't my genre, classical music and opera. But, you know, I loved playing the piano as a kid, and I've enjoyed singing in my career these last couple decades. And it's something that I really love. I think that singing is such a language of poetry. And certainly that was that era of folk music, that time, you know, speaking out against the Vietnam War and how she used her platform for justice. So let's unpeel Joan Baez's chart, okay? And so she's born January 9th, 1941 at 10:45 in the morning. And this is someone who traveled a lot in her life. She had really interesting parents, Mexican father, Scottish mom, and did a lot of traveling. She is born on the year of a yang metal dragon, the month of yin earth ox, the day of yin fire snake, and the hour of yin wood snake. And one of the things I can say is snakes, when I think of the personality of somebody that's born on the day of a snake, and certainly bringing that into their career as well, which really shows in a lot of ways how herself is mirrored in her work. You see with other people how your work is something separate, you know, of you, but separate. This feels very much like a cohesion, that she is her voice, she is her music, she is her platform. There is no separation between what she brings the world and who she is. And with that, there is a certain amount of authenticity that comes with that. She's not putting on a persona here. In fact, when you look at her life pillar of a yin fire pig, you see that this is a life that is of her journey, of discovering who she is and being responsible, very focused on the concept of family, but also meeting her obligations. And even though all of her relationships, her mother, husband, partner, lovers, family in general, sisters, sisterhood, friendships, all of that really is the narrative of why she is living this life. These relationships being so important to her soul's journey. And with this, there is a vein of the government, of law, of justice pieced into this. So looking at her personality, I found this interesting. So the two snakes really are a prime amount of energy and life force. And sometimes you'll see a chart where, when you do all of the math and all of the arrangement of getting the chart down, you look at it and it's just a weak chart. It's not a chart that shows a strength. And this is not necessarily about the balance of elements. It's just the animals at play and what's happening in that scenario. She is strong. Her day pillar, and of course, the hour being the same. It is vibrant. It's energy at its prime. And being like that gives her this longevity. I mean, look at her age. And she looks awesome. And she's still very active. And her career is still active. So that's like, a real strength to have in your chart. Her chart, is balanced in yin yang. And of her elements, her wood is weak at 13%, just slightly. Fire herself, her own element, fire is the singer, the performer. 23% balanced. Earth is very strong. But there are no trios and there are no conditions here to support a dominant chart. This is like a fake follow offspring here. And that's where the condition is there for it to be a special chart, but all of the pieces don't come into play. It's a very rare thing to get a true dominant chart. You've got to have something very wacky, like Kanye West, Yeezy's, chart comes to mind. Her metal is balanced at 23%, and she hardly has any water, 4%. Now, this is interesting because she has hardly any water. This gives her no strength in her career and romantic relationships. And she even has said that she is someone who really prefers to be alone. I think that she's had 3 major relationships, Bob Dylan being one of them. News to me was also that she dated Steve Jobs of Apple in the 80s. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Interesting match there. And, but for the most part, she is somebody that is just sovereign unto herself. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Some people are like that. And when you look at her chart, you see this is somebody that is very independent, does not like to be told what to do. She is a natural leader. She is born, after all, in the year of the dragon. And she needs balance. She needs her life to be in harmony. And if anything, that is one of the things that she has fought for. Harmony in our world. She is an activist. And when you look at her career, you can see that the yin wood sitting on top of the snake is giving her a platform in which she plays herself. She brings herself. And she is here to inspire and teach. The number one thing I would highlight around Joan Baez is she is here to inspire and teach us something. What did she teach me as a young girl? In a time when women did not necessarily have a voice, she taught me that we do have a voice. And that's one of the reasons that I love that the title of this documentary is I Am a Noise. And noise does something. And you think of the word noise, it's not lyrical, it's not musical, right? It's a disruption, possibly annoying. But it also gets your attention. Yeah. Snakes are interesting people. You know, I sometimes wonder if they aren't misunderstood. Because inherently, they're behind the scenes people. And the fact that this is her day and hour, and she's a performer, it's very interesting. And I think it's one of the reasons why I think of her kind of along the lines of Joni Mitchell. They are strong, influential, and yet they lack something. Arrogance, cockiness, ego that you often see with famous people. Joan is humble. She takes the stage for many reasons, yes, to entertain, but she also is making a noise. She has something to say, to inspire us to think about the effects of war or the effects of fill in the blank. Her work not only is about inspiring and educating, teaching, and brings in this side of herself. Okay. But it's also something that brings her money, the ability to travel, to thrive in her life, and of course, rooted down in the snake. This is my word, my new word that I'm loving right now, because this is what we need in our life now in 2023 and going into next year's election. And I'm going to talk more about that in coming videos. But disruptor, rebellion, somebody who's smart in how they use their intuitive sense to rise up and challenge what is to create needed change. I'm all about that. Disruptors are needed. Otherwise, we all wind up robots. Yeah. That's where we find entrepreneurs and Visionaries. And snakes they're sensual and instinctive and enigmatic, great word, and very perceptive. Very reflective in a way that makes me think of somebody that would journal or write music. And people seek them out because they are like advisors. They're very good advisors. They're sophisticated and beautiful and wise. Love a snake. Really interesting people. Not necessarily loud, but definitely making a noise. Now, the interesting thing to note in her chart is somebody that has hardly any of their career element and a weak amount of support tends to not have a strong career. How has that been such a long, illustrious career then? Well, she has a secret back pocket because the elements that she most needs, water and wood, because her chart tends to be really dry, is in her life pillar of the pig. And I feel like there was a chart I recently just read that had the same situation. It's the great good fortune to have a life pillar that is giving you the elements you most need in such a way that it's like this back door of energy. It's almost like you're running a marathon and all of a sudden, as your legs are giving out, somebody, lifts you up and starts running with you. And that is such a beautiful thing. That is a hidden gift for sure. And so when we look through her life pillars, her luck cycles, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. So her second life or luck cycle started in 1952, ages 11 to 20, a yin fire pig. So her life pillar played out from 1952 to 1961. This is when her career took off. So it's like a stamp. This is where it begins. You are living your legacy now at this beautiful young age. She came out like a songbird. And then she gets into 1962. Life is wild in America now, right? We're in the Vietnam War, ages 21 to 30. And this was a yang fire dog luck cycle. This is like the fuel that she needed to take her platform and use it for justice and fairness. And that's what she was fighting and advocating for. That period of her life was a rebellion against the system. And it was where she was learning herself, learning her voice, finding her voice. But it was most definitely a rebellion. So where she currently is, amazingly, mirrors her year pillar. It's Yang Metal Dragon that she came into last year, 2022, ages 81 to 90. I know. And And still, the dragon is a continuum of this narrative of the disruptor, the wise woman who is ready to speak truth, sing truth, inspire truth, inspire looking at things from fresh perspectives. I remember even as a young girl, 10, 12 years old, thinking that I had this feeling in myself that I missed the boat. I wanted to be her age. I wanted to know what it was like to be like 18 years old in the 60s. Kind of like, what if I had been born in 1956 and not 1966? Because I think for me, these women that were such voices, Helen Reddy, another one that comes to mind, or Diana Ross, oh my gracious. Her song, I'm Coming Out, such an anthem, and these women, these voices, Carly Simon, there's another one, Carole King. I grew up listening to all of these women, and I wanted to I was a kid, and yet I identified so much with their voices, their words, their message, and yet I couldn't fully understand it because I was a kid. But I definitely want to see this movie, I Am a Noise, and sweet, sweet blessings to Joan Baez. Absolutely love her to pieces. And I think that it's amazing, the journey of her chart, the longevity of her career. And hope she's around for many, many more years. So thank you so much, and be well.